It's going well until you look at Johnny. Just like, yeah.
This is Johnny going like,
said hello.
hello, and welcome to this week's episode of No Idea Yet. Too afraid to ask, too lazy to Google, you're in the right place. This is the show where we choose from any and all topics, have a little chat about what it is that we think we know, go away for a week, and find out really how naive it is that we are. Joining me this week is Alistair and Johnny,
Hello.
and we are going to be delving into a smelly topic. This one is inspired by a very strange conversation I had with a lady when I was driving her to a nearby communist society that had tried to split off from like the world and be self-sustainable, and I didn't really know her very well, and she wanted to tell me that if I used deodorant I was being controlled by the government. So this week's topic is deodorant. Because I realised, because the thing was, you see, this is a conversation I had a while ago actually, but it just came to mind. Even though she was telling me that the chemical compounds in deodorant, if I used them, would be able to affect my skin and control me in ways that I didn't understand, I didn't actually have any rebuttal. Like, I wasn't going. I couldn't actually say anything in return, so I just kind of was like, well, fair enough, I'll take that on board, and I will one day look up deodorant, and obviously I never did. So you guys are trapped with me on a podcast for at least half an hour, and we're going to have a little discussion, first of all, on what you define, obviously, Johnny, currently, deodorant to be.
Well, surely there's two different types, whether it's an antiperspirant or not. Because I guess that's probably a more recent thing, is to try stopping you sweating as much. But originally it's just probably just to cover the smell of BO.
Well, deodorant and perfume we've got to sort of separate from there, surely.
But then, why? Is that just marketing?
I
Surely
don't know.
perfume and deodorant's just marketing.
Yeah, what's the difference between deodorant and a perfume, if they both smell?
Perfumes aren't antiperspirants, right? They don't stop you from sweating in a way that deodorants try to.
But surely we've had deodorant for a while, but it wasn't always an antiperspirant.
I don't know. Well, the only sort of quite interesting thing I actually have as an experience with this, when I was like 16, a friend of mine who was just, like we had to wear shirts to school and stuff. And if you get like pit stains, obviously it's a bit embarrassing, I think. A friend of mine sort of noticed I did have that of it, and he was like, "Oh, have you heard of stuff called dry claw?" And basically, you use it, you put it on at night, and then you wash off in the morning, and it just closes the pores, and like it's just like there's no sweat.
You physically
can't sweat. So I used to use that. Well, I haven't used it in quite a while now, so I think it's sort of it's not that bad. But yeah, it was like if I did something and I got sweaty, I'd just be like, I have a sweaty chest, sweaty back, and like no sweat under my armpits. It's weird. But yeah, it like fully deodorant eat your heart out.
That's really interesting.
Really funny story about my brother when he was a teenager, and obviously just a time when he I feel like, I don't know, he must have started using a new antiperspirant when he hadn't previously or in some way, and I just remember this really heated, like him freaking out a bit to my mum being like, I just don't get it, I sweat all of my body but not my armpits, it's really weird. And it's just because he was wearing antiperspirant and it was working really effectively, and it completely took him off guard. He had no idea what was going on, and it's like it's working the thing that you. I guess we see it's so commonplace to put stuff on that you forget what actually does the job.
Actually, did you guys? You're like, so we're all boys of slightly different body types. So I'm wondering what it was that got you into deodorant, if that makes sense. But I'm the oldest, right? So, of my brother and sister. So, when you're babies, you don't put deodorant on babies, do you? Unless I'm really wrong here and I don't know how to raise a child. I'm pretty sure you don't put deodorant on them.
I'd be like, wait,
I think you grab them by the heel, right? Don't you grab them by the heel and then just dunk them in the vat of like...
100%, but the heel gets
shake them dry. That's why they say shake the baby dry.
Yeah, but then you just take the other heel and then do it again so that you make sure it gets both heels, right? Otherwise it can be really bad, I think.
Or you just drink your hand in and it's fine.
You become Achilles. Yeah, so then... Okay, so what I'm getting at is that there's a point when...
Why did you just dunk the whole... Anyway, sorry.
You start... I know, stupid. Why there's a point where you start wearing deodorant or antiperspirant, and I
Puberty.
remembered it very clearly.
Probably slightly too late into puberty for most kids, but
No, I was
Social
definitely way
pressure.
late.
100%. Because to be honest,
It's
I'm
not
not
like Lynx.
Yeah, I'm not a hugely sweaty person, to be honest. So my
I
brother's
actually have a
really-
condition where I don't sweat, so I have to...
Out of my armpits. Everywhere else.
But yeah, no, my brother's been always really sweaty, and then my stepbrothers, they were like horrifically like smelly when he was teen. And it's kind of a case of if he had a shower like in the morning, by the evening he'd be smelling kind of sweaty, and like definitely like you have to multiple times a day you'd have to put on deodorant kind of thing. Not as much now, obviously your body settles out a bit, but yeah, for me definitely a case of people wearing it, so you're like, oh, I want to make sure I smell nice, and then you fear that you don't.
Yeah, because
smell
you thought it
nice.
was cool rather than because you needed it more so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people obviously they do, but yeah, definitely more of a thought of I feel like I do need it, and now I fear, am I smelly or not? I can't smell if I'm smelly, but I better be safe and put deodorant on.
Oh, Alistair. Okay, so next point then, Alistair. What do you think about? Is it unnatural? Should we be wearing deodorant? Like, do we? Surely we just smell how we smell. Like, what's the problem?
Well, people did that for quite a long time, didn't they? And they were pretty gross. So they got like sort of like Victorian time kind of average people probably didn't.
Have you
smell
met a
them.
Victorian?
Maybe.
Maybe you'd like the smell. But that's other living conditions as well, right? I mean, basically, what I'm getting is like, do you reckon if no one wore deodorant, but we had more more of a natural lifestyle, do you reckon it wouldn't be so bad? Is it our diet? Does our diet affect how bad we smell?
I think it's got because I remember we went to Tanzania for 2 months and then came back, and obviously like we maybe you'd shower once a week when we got to go to a hotel or something, but most of the time we were just camping out, and you just had like baby wipes just to kind of freshen up and deodorant stuff. And then when I got back, I remember coming off the plane and meeting Abby, and she was like, and obviously I've been like, oh, I don't think it smells too bad. You got deodorant, you wipe yourself, stuff like that. Got back, and Abby was like, you stink of smoke and BO, like you smell awful. But like with a friend Sophie's like, I don't think we can't smell anything. It's fine. You just
But I wiped a baby wipe. I did one baby wipe for the
But do you like?
We were around a bonfire every night for.
You forget, but you don't realise the smell, and I can bet.
You definitely get used to not having it. If no one did,
Yeah.
then you'd be like, yeah.
And any money, I could bet that deodorant came about when easy access to water and bathing became more of a social thing. Because suddenly when you bathe, that smell goes away, and then it comes back again. And so maybe you can notice and sort of like, actually, I'm used to not smelling the smell anymore, and now it's coming back. And depending on how often you
that's an
bathe,
interesting
and then
theory.
deodorant.
I'm definitely curious as to when it actually came in sort of in a noticeable form as it is now. Because obviously perfume would be around way longer than deodorant, right? Surely.
Egyptians, isn't it?
Yeah.
Perfume's
But
super
this
old,
is
so yeah.
this episode is focusing on the kind of like the BO, the fixing it, not just trying to smell nice because you got perfume. But fair enough. Okay, another point we're going to move on to, just because we're going to research.
Do you want to get how deep do you want to get into the whole conspiracy thing of does
That's
the
where we're
government
going.
control?
That's
Okay,
where we're
great.
going.
Buckle in, guys.
I will say
So
just quickly
this-
on the last point of should we? It is a mad thought to close a natural function of your body, which is vital for surviving and like thermoregulation.
If
Like,
you did that
stop
your entire body in that
process.
dry cloth stuff, you'd probably like overheat. I don't know, it wouldn't be good.
Overheating
You couldn't sweat out your entire body. Yeah, you'd overheat very
Really
quickly,
wet
I
head.
think.
Your wet heads and soles of your
Soaking wet.
feet. Oh,
Oh, I get sweaty feet.
like, are you crying? No, I'm just sweating from my eyelids. There's no pores anywhere.
Yeah, because I like the idea that if it can't get out the other pores, it all goes to the pores that it can get to, right? It's not, you're like a sieve.
That's
but
the
you
science how it works. So that's definitely how the
it
science works.
shoots out of your eyelids. Oh.
You just squirt out of your fingertips like a water gun.
Oh man, yeah. Okay, so my next point is ingredients, basically. Like the stuff that we put in deodorant. I'm guessing you guys know about the idea of like aluminium in deodorant.
Yeah.
Like,
Right, yeah.
I don't know about this. I actually don't. I just remember reading, oh, this hasn't got aluminium in it. It used to?
Yeah.
What?
I know the marketing of aluminium, but I don't actually know much about the aluminium itself. I know it's a thing of aluminium's bad to put on your body.
I think it's
And
aluminium
that's-
oxide, right? It's a compound of aluminium. I'm assuming it's not straight up metal filings.
Well, that's what
It was aerosol, yeah. There's some sort of the active ingredient. I remember this thing about this dry cloth stuff. Like I said, that actually physically just closes your pores. You put it on at night and you wash off in the morning. You just I think you did it every night when you first start using it, and it's like painful. It like actually hurts. Like it's like difficult to get to sleep with it on, because it's like, you know,
Wow.
so it's definitely doing something that's like not natural to your body in a big way. So I feel that's a very, very extreme example of this kind of stuff.
Can you find out for next episode what's in it?
Absolutely, yeah. Like I say, it's definitely some sort of
Glue.
Like 24-hour setting glue. Wash it off after night, because otherwise it'll set.
Yeah, or peel it off in the morning.
It's peel off the aluminium, it's gluing tinfoil to your armpits.
Just tinfoil and glue.
Yeah, it just marketed really well. Okay, so you guys have no idea about actual ingredients in deodorant, right? I mean, like, I have no idea what's in it.
No,
Like,
that's why
in
I
the same way that I don't know, I couldn't tell you the ingredients in like a milkshake, like you know.
Milk?
I think I could.
No, you know, like,
Banana.
no, like I thought you meant like the chemical, like the list. Because obviously you see that thing as like a massive list of like chemical. It's basically sort of this anti-vaccine thing, trying to show people how daft it is that if you can't pronounce it, it's not natural. It's like, no, they just give this like full list of crazy different like chemicals and things, and they're like, oh yeah, I would never put any of those in my body. And it's like, okay, yeah, this is just literally, I've just broken down a banana. Like, this is just what's in a banana. So yeah.
Bananas are pretty unnatural. Bloody
Yeah, oh my god.
curved yellow things. Okay, last question I'm just going to ask you guys before we head off, unless you have any more points afterwards, is what deodorant do you guys use?
I'm representing
Tell
me.
Rolling, spraying,
So
the waxy blocks that people rub on themselves?
I remember in high school of being aerosol suddenly like, oh no, it's really bad. You got to use like roll on, or you use the little,
Pritt sticks.
Pritt sticks. And then I didn't really catch on to for a while, and then I started using like Dove, like Pritt stick one, and then it went to Home Sense, and there was like a what was it called, something like Humbly Simple, something like that, and it was lavender and basil, and it smelled,
That's a candle.
yeah, and it smelled incredible. And when I wore it, I could smell it all day. I'm like, sweet, and I'm not particularly sweaty, so it was never really an issue of antiperspirant, it's more a case of smell. And then from there, then through advertising and algorithms, wild deodorant, which is the stuff you get, which is the all natural thing, and it's reusable, and you get like a little black tin that I have, and then you get things sent in the post whenever you need refills, and then it's just cardboard. It's like the paste inside a cardboard thing. You put it into your
That's
container,
really cool.
then you can just reuse it. You throw out the cardboard recyclable, and then you get the new stuff. And again, it's like usually like deodorants, the one I got from Home Sense, which is only American, so I can't get any more of it, it's like 3 ingredients only, and this one's like 5 or 6 ingredients. I guess the idea of like Apple, when it's like the less is more, like the more simplistic, I guess, as well as a marketing thing of being like, why is there 50 different products in this? Look, there's only 5, and you know what they are. Yeah, so that's wild. It's good.
That's really cool. Okay.
great product,
I did not expect
Get
that.
a
I thought you were going to be like Dove roll-on, but actually... Okay, Alistair.
I don't, because I don't want the government to control me. Are you crazy?
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I own currently some. I went a phase of wearing women's deodorant actually for a little bit. That was quite nice. It just smells better.
I like the thing of, if it's marketed for women's stuff, it's marketed in the idea of towards men, and same with men's is marketed towards women, technically, isn't it? I remember someone in high school being like if you wear women's, you prefer the smell more than you do men's.
I don't know. I was in the shop, smelled one, and I was like, it smells better. I'm just going to prove it. Toxic masculinity, sir. Not.
Because
like I said, I used the dry cloth stuff when I was a teenager loads, and I basically haven't sweated out my armpits for the last 10 years. So
Never rubbed it off.
Spray or like a roll-on type thing?
Oh no, that stuff's like a roll-on, yeah. Like roll-on, and like I say, it is once you've used it, it doesn't. Your body gets used to it, so you don't. But like when you start it, it's painful. Like it was definitely it's pretty hard.
Shave your armpits
your
to
in it, apart from
no.
one area,
I think you shouldn't. If you shave your armpits, it's bad for that. I think.
Oh.
So I don't know, but I don't know. Yeah, I like. No, it's not something I really use these days. I've got a nice Hugo Boss aftershave, which I whack on if you're trying to. Just special occasion.
Trying to woo someone.
Freddie, what do you use?
I was just saying, I use women's roll-on deodorant with no perfume in it, like because I always got. I just got crap from my dad if I smelled of anything, literally anything. Same with my mum actually. Both of them are just
my
like,
dad's really hot on that. Actually, my dad.
Yeah.
Like if
And
I
they just-
if like the spit of Febreze in a room, and he'd be like, "No, I'm not going there."
yeah. Oh god. Oh what? Oh, I smell like you smell like a handbag, Freddie. Like anything. Any smell.
Like, you smell like this.
Yeah. So I just can't. And also, so
It's
I just got into
handbag for
using
men.
non-smell. And that's why it's marketed towards. I'm not sure who, but yeah. I'd like to go away on this, like, soft topic of deodorant. Maybe anything about the chemicals that are in it. If it actually is good or bad for the environment. I mean, you never know. Maybe the spray has been fixed now. Maybe a little bit of the history of when it came in or not, and a bit of BO. I mean, we only put deodorant on our armpits, right? But I mean, all of us, we smell all over. Like, maybe people put it other places. I don't know.
Do you know? Is it JNL, or do you know those, like, sometimes you go into Argos or no Woolworths, at the end of an hour there'll be a little TV and it'll have the product underneath it, and it'll be like, presented on JBL, look at this thing we have. And I saw one thing, I think it's like an American one. Do you know, like those, like, cliche, like, really bad acting commercials of, and it was like, it's spraying on your crotch and your feet, and it was like, I think it was like it like is a lorry driver, and he's like coming out and like, oh, do you have like badass smell and bad crotch or feet? Look at this tiny little spray, and it's like, so good. That kind of, like, really terrible, and it was effectively for your groin and for your feet, and that's where it's tagged in.
I saw a thing about if you spray on the back of your knee, it's like your knee pits, like the back of your knees. That then it comes out your whole body more.
That's cool.
What?
So sorry, Fred. Sorry, the history, ingredients, environmental impact, and then
That's basically an interesting fact.
and BO itself.
Yeah,
Do
I
you know
mean,
the name for your elbow pit?
Weenus.
not the opposite weenus.
That's your weenus, isn't it?
No, it's your crook. The crook of your arm.
Makes sense.
What, so this
Not
bit
gonna
here?
lie. Fair.
Yeah, your elbow pit.
So then, what's your knee pit then?
Crook?
Your southern crook?
The southern crook. It sounds like
Perfect.
a dealer.
Sounds like a fancy pub.
Well,
It does
on
sound like
that-
a fancy pub.
on that fantastic pub name or band name, it's up to you. You can give all credit to Alistair. Thanks for joining us for the first half. We're going to go away and research, and we'll find out what we just didn't know yet about deodorant after the break.
Sponsored by Netflix.
Sponsored by Way Evil Wild or whatever the fuck that is. Hello and welcome back after the break. We're here, Johnny, Alistair and Freddie, as you well know, and we have been talking about a smelly subject, and that is deodorants and antiperspirants. So, I'm wondering, it's been 5 seconds for you, a week for us. What is it that we found out? What is it that we just didn't know? Jonathan, do you have the definition?
One thing I need to... This is unrelated. It was at the very end of it, of what is a knee pit, and the word is popliteal fossa, or just a knee pit. Those are the words.
I think if you call it a popular
Anyway,
fossa,
deodorant. So,
will be like,
I
oh,
looked
yeah,
at two
sure.
things because of the difference. So, a deodorant is a substance which removes or conceals unpleasant smells, especially odours. And a perfume, because I thought, well, you need to know you need more than one definition to know one definition. A perfume is a fragrant liquid typically made from essential oils extracted from flowers and spices used to give a pleasant smell to one's body. So one is about just smelling nice, and the other is actually by trying to counteract bad smells, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So one you can smell bad with perfume on top, with the other one is trying to actually get rid of the bad smell.
Fair enough. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, like, we're not going into it now, but I didn't realise the whole thing about perfumes and parfums and eau de toilettes are all apparently different concentrations, but I don't know.
Oh,
More than that.
or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Alistair, did you focus on anything in particular with this fragrant subject?
I did a few fun facts, which are always a bit of a laugh. Just general interesting stuff about deodorant. And some smelly people in history.
George was particularly smelly.
This kid called George, yeah, he just bloody stank. Yeah, no, and yeah, just the general kind of I know that you went pretty hard on the ingredients specifically, so I thought I will hand it back over to you. I don't know, yeah. But yeah, no, just got a couple of quick fire facts. I think there's some quite fun ones here. So there's one about whether or not you actually need antiperspirant. Is you can actually tell. It's a little bit gross, but by your earwax, apparently. I haven't tested this, I must confess, so it might be complete rubbish. But apparently, if your earwax is dark and sticky, you need deodorant. But if it's sort of white and flaky, then you don't need it as much.
That's really interesting.
Not sure why that's true, but
when you were in China, wasn't that like
yeah, that's a real big thing.
earwax?
We have super gross earwax for Chinese people because they just have like powder. We have like sticky, gross stuff.
For the people that you met in China, they just don't need deodorant or antiperspirants.
Probably, yeah. You don't really see it for sale in the same way. So
Yeah, that's so cool.
yeah.
One thing I've noticed, like, the difference between like deodorant is sold like almost, what is the term? Like not a medicine, but do you know, like it's marketed a lot more as like a that kind of health product.
Healthcare,
perfume. Yeah, healthcare. Whereas the perfume is something which is more like
more of a commodity kind of, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So it's funny the difference is effectively the exact same job of bad smell to nice smell, but one is triple the price and considered a luxury. The other is like a lot cheaper and considered just an essential.
That's very interesting, yeah. Because this is something that's happened in more modern times. I was just speaking to my parents at the weekend, and I happened to mention that this was the topic we were talking about, and my dad went off on a rant about like how different it's become in recent years. And I recorded that rant. Would you guys be interested to hear?
Yes.
I'm for dad rants.
Well, when I was very young, there were things called aftershave. But what the hell is aftershave? Well, all aftershave was effectively perfume for men. To market it, what they did was they said, okay, after you shave, you put the stuff on, it makes you smell nice, which is rather bizarre.
Good marketing technique.
To men. And around the same sort of time, people started using deodorants. And I remember when I was at school, nobody had deodorants. Except one guy, and he came to school with a can of deodorant. We couldn't believe it, you know. What do you want this stuff for? Because everybody smelt a bit. And gradually over time, people smell less and less of BO, but more and more of these fucking perfumes. And sometimes I'm amazed, you walk down the high street and you get a waft of some disgustingly,
So wait, at school when you were there, everyone just smelled of BO and you just got used to it?
Yeah, because everybody used it. Well, 100 years ago, nobody had any perfumes. Most people don't need soap. Everybody must have stunk to high heaven.
Fair enough.
But it's like anything. As things change, as people wash more. I mean, not that long ago, in Victorian times, there were baths. Nobody had bathrooms in houses now. You see on these house programs, people still don't have bathrooms upstairs because when the house was built 100 years ago, there was no such thing as a bathroom. There'd be a tin bath would be put in front of the fire, filled with water from the kettle, and you'd literally bathe in the house. Then they put some of these houses, the Victorian houses, the one was used to go and look at, like in Victoria Road, you'd have the house and a kitchen, and then on the back of that, they'd have built a bathroom. Some of these freezing cold little bathroom extensions because there was no room for a bathroom in the house. So people didn't bath very much. So people were used to it. It's pretty smelly. You'd wash, if you could do, once a bloody week.
I guess everyone just got used to it.
When I was at school, we had 2 baths a week, and it wasn't a bath. There was I think it was 6 inches of water in the bottom of the bath. It was you recycled it. So one person got in, and you were told, "Yeah, next 2 minutes, right? You out, next in, next out."
This is boarding school.
Yeah, prep school. When we were small kids, we were about 12, 10, 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And if you were the last one to get in, it was the water being not brown, it was yellow. It was that sort of horrible and fucking cold, of course. It's only that deep. So you bath very little. There were no showers at that prep school, and nobody had deodorants. So it's only it's a very modern thing.
I love your dad. Also, just because
it's just like adult Southern as well. I mean, you guys are like kid Southern comparatively. I mean, that's like you've got it going. I mean, yeah.
It's so funny. As our dads, our brothers, they have the exact same opinion. Like my dad does that. Buddy, like, that smell like if there's like a tiny bit of Febreze in someone's house, he'll be like, "Oh God, what's this rubbish?"
But yeah, like you know, well, the maddest thing as well for like my 9, she's 96, and like when she had my dad, it was a case of she had to go downstairs to stoke the fire to warm the water to have a bath, to make the bath. That's how it works. So she had a fireplace. The fireplace now is just a gas fire. It's just the standard, just more visual, pretty, and that gives off heat. But before it used to be like a proper fireplace. You needed to have fire in there to warm up your water, you know. And that was, you know, and that was my dad when he was a kid. And again, to like, and yeah, you share baths, you know, because well, you got a full bath of water. That's a lot of water, which is why you're wasting it. So you know, kids go first, then adults, and then
the vegetables.
And then you drink it.
Yeah. So just to about what he was talking about, does it surprise you that deodorant is so recent that, you know, at school no one would smell of anything other than humans, or is that kind of expected?
That is the nicest way you could put that.
Yeah, so I think looking into perfumes, that's the different deodorants. I mean, like, I'll go into a bit of the research. So the first deodorant, which the idea was it kills odor producing bacteria, was called Mum and had been trademarked in 1888, with the first antiperspirant, which would be for against the sweat production and bacterial growth, was called Everdry and launched in 1903. But the funny thing is that it was in a Victorian society, so you're still on that kind of thing of where people didn't talk about sweat or bodily function. It was all like hush hush, you know. So if people were worried, they'd just wash more, or they'd have like perfume, or effectively have like sweat pads made out of cotton or rubber. So if you think you're going to look sweaty, you put these on a hot day to avoid getting any sweat patches. And like that, I thought of like, yeah, perfumes. Yeah, so the first perfume was recorded in 1200 BC. It was a chemist woman called Taputi in Mesopotamia, which is just for the idea of Mesopotamia now is Iraq, parts of Iran, Turkey, Syria, and Kuwait. But yeah, so perfume's been around for years, like thousands of years, and obviously that was to cover smells. But like, and it was also, she was a chemist. It's quite funny like how I thought of it, but clearly it wasn't until the 1900s when they had to market it. They had to convince people you're smelly. Like the same with, do you know halitosis for bad breath? Listerine made that term up to make it sound medical. That's just a made-up word that the marketing did to make it sound official, that you need Listerine as a medical thing to treat your bad breath. And it suddenly makes it sound official. And I love it that, as you're saying, that it's marketing. You've got to tell people, actually you're sweaty and smelly and it's gross and you need this now, not just perfume. Now it's your body smell. You don't want to smell nice, you're going to get rid of your smell. Yeah, I think
that's really interesting.
That's, I can totally see how that becomes adopted over time as well, to just become the norm. Like, so within, like I say, within like a generation or two, like sort of 40, 50 years.
Humans,
our dads are at boarding school kind of thing. That's
we're so good that humans are so good at absorbing insecurities, and until they're like they can be anything. Go on, Johnny.
Because yeah, deodorant is against body odor, and that's also so it's either a smell or actually an antibacterial as well, so it kills bacteria. So it's not that.
One of the things I've researched actually. It was about you could use sorry to just this is from me. You can use a hand and if you've got any spare hand gel stuff, you could use that and it would be effectively the same as it would serve the same function as deodorant. Obviously, probably wouldn't be as good for your skin, but yeah.
Well,
you could totally use hand gel as your thing.
That works.
Is it got some ingredients or something?
That works very well into my. I got 2 parts of research that I'd like to talk about. First, what I did. Well, later on, what I'll say is that I'm going to talk about some of the conspiracies. Johnny, you love conspiracies. I'm going to talk about the conspiracies behind deodorant use later. But first, when I was at work, I took some deodorant with me. Because sometimes I'm hot and sweaty because I do a lot of manual labour stuff and it just gets disgusting. So sometimes I freshen up, and I came to realise I should look at all the ingredients on the back of my deodorant and actually find out what every single one of them does. Especially considering that that's what the argument was I spoke about in the first half from a person I knew, was that we don't understand what's going into these things. So I compiled the list. I removed one ingredient, which was water, from the list.
But what's water?
well, actually, okay, so I'm going to just quickly go on a tangent here. Do you know why it says aqua and not water?
No.
Because you bought it in Spain.
No, check your deodorant. Check your deodorant.
Is it because water could mean like it's a mix of things, whereas aqua is meant to be like a pure, oh, it's just this or whatever?
No.
H2A.
It's because this is actually really interesting. So there's actually an INCI system, which is the International Nomenclature of Cosmetic Ingredients, and it's a standardized way of listing ingredients.
Yeah, I was just thinking I should. That was on the tip of my tongue.
Wait, this is why it's interesting. Which says you have to have the ingredients based in Latin, English, and other scientific names in a specific way. If you don't, and you put one other language on there, by law you have to put all other languages of the places that you're selling it to. So that's why sometimes you look at something and it has the Spanish, Italian, Russian, French, German, whatever, and sometimes it just has one language. So that means that if you buy something in America, you can't sell it in Europe because it has words that should be in Latin, but they're actually in English or something.
Yeah, because of course, like if you ever go to an American section of a shop in the UK, all the labels will always have it'll be printed over the top, won't it?
Mm-hmm.
You always have those little sticky white things, and it's why did they just put the same ingredients over the top of the previous ingredients? But that'll be why. He's selling to a different country.
Technicalities.
Yeah. Anyway, the fun game that I've got is I have sent you guys a list of all 19 ingredients in my Dove roll-on shampoo, Dove roll-on deodorant.
Isn't that just a bar of soap?
Yeah. And if you pick one or two each, I'm going to tell you a fun fact about it because there's actually quite a lot of interesting things going on. So, Alistair, would you like to go first? Choose an ingredient.
I will go for number 18, which I believe is linalool. Looks like Lena, then LOL.
Yes,
so.
linalool or linalool.
Linalool.
It is produced by a wide variety of plants, such as mint, cinnamon, citrus fruits, birch trees, and other. It has a pleasant floral smell. It can be absorbed by inhalation or oral intake for other things, which can cause allergic reactions. It is actually an allergen. And it turns out 7% of European people, if you have a patch test, will show an allergy to linalool.
Sounds like a real.
Yeah.
This is ironic. Something else I was thinking when we were researching this about why we decided that mint is fresh. Why does mint equal fresh? What was that? Where did that come from?
This is the thing that quick tangent about mint of being mint is the most versatile thing in the world. Of you have it for your main. You can have it with mint and lamb. You can have it for pudding. Mint sauce is your main, and then as a pudding you have mint ice cream or mint chocolate chip. You have it with chocolate. You can have it for toothpaste. In the morning and the evening, you'll put it in your mouth, and you're still okay to be yeah, I'm gonna have it for my main, and then my dessert. And you have it in soothing smell,
chewing gum.
Chewing gum. Literally, mint is used you have it as wash scrub, stuff like that. It's mints in everything, and everyone's just completely okay. And it's just such a versatile weed.
Just decided
it grows
it is fresh.
mad as well. Yeah, mint's great. Yeah, big fan of mint.
Oh, fair play.
Put mint on anything.
Mint, mate, is mint, isn't it? Yeah.
Mint's mint. Okay, well, is that a dog or a baby?
Dog or a ghost? Quite a fast baby of the speed at which you sort of saw the door open and you saw it come around. That would be quite.
I don't know he's about that fast now.
Really?
Johnny, when you've got a moment, would you like to choose an ingredient?
Of course, I'm going to go for I was which one to go? I'm going to go for 7, which I'm going to try to pronounce of pentarythritol tetradibutyl hydroxyhydrocinamate. Yep.
So because of the Latin and the Spanish names, you have to have this. It's just a fatty acid that's found in food. It's not bad for you. It's totally normal.
So the description is shorter than the name.
Literally, yes.
Fatty acid found in food. That is definitely fewer letters than.
Not to. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Not to bore our listeners, Alistair, just one more then.
Only because I've actually heard this one before. I don't really know what it is. Glycerine.
Yeah, glycerine.
Rings a bell. Glycerine, sorry, yeah. It rings a bell.
Yeah, it's a sweet-tasting chemical, completely non-toxic, and it's used in literally everything. We're talking from shampoo to food to colouring to dyes to all sorts of stuff. It's used in everything.
Put it with nitrogen somehow?
Oh my god, I didn't even think of looking up that. is that nitroglycerin? That might be
the explosives, right? Yeah.
How did I not think of looking that up? Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
I make my deodorant into C4. You're not seeing Fight Club.
I will try. Yeah, I read Fight Club recently. Actually, mad book. Johnny, let's choose one more, and then I'll.
I'm going to go for one limonene. It reminds me of limoncello.
Nice. Well, would you like to guess? Yes. So, limonene, used in almost all types of body care products. It's also a dietary supplement. Has a fresh smell. May cause irritation if you put pure stuff on your skin. It is flammable and toxic to aquatic life.
That's nice.
Yes.
Oh,
So
that's probably a good segue into our environment section.
well, yes, actually, just to finish off my segment, because there's so many different things, and sadly, you didn't pick any of the fun ones that I was hoping you would. I know.
There are two.
I thought you just did this as a way to show off the fact that you learned all 19.
No, it's just the fact that some of them have mad facts.
Fred, hit us with some mad ones. Go on.
Yeah.
Okay, because people get so uppy about safety, obviously, because you're selling to the masses.
Safety, mate. People living.
Exactly. So it's interesting that basically all of these chemicals in some way or form have been tested to the extremes to find out exactly how much a human can handle before it starts hurting, like itching or like causing irritation. So one, for example, is I've lost which one it is now. Stereth to Parfum is an emulsifier that you use in lots of things such as moisturizers and stuff. And they were like, someone said, this is bad, I'm allergic to this. So they had to do these tests. They found out that the only way you can cause irritation is if you put it at 60% or more concentration and then spray it directly in your eyes. They actually found this out. Other quick facts.
People who get paid to do that sort of
they're right.
Yeah. Boot camps, but for spraying deodorant in your eyes. That sounds fun.
Other quick random stuff that was in my roll-on is that helianthus seed oil is actually just sunflower oil and has been used for skin smoothing and soft properties for over 5,000 years. Oh. And finally, the one that I found just hilarious was eugenol. So this has a pleasant spicy scent. It's extracted from certain essential oils such as cloves, nutmegs, cinnamon, basil, and bay leaf. It is attractive in its pure form to various species of orchid bees and the female cucumber beetle. And
Incredible.
If you put it in a fish tank, it makes the fish go to sleep. So you can use it to euthanize sick fish. There we go.
Incredible.
Only fish.
Yeah, apparently. Anyway, there's fun stuff about all the other ingredients, and I would recommend anyone at home, if you're not sure about what you're actually putting on your body, it's quite interesting actually looking up, finding what the truth is behind it, and realizing that everything is pretty much safe at the concentrations that they're in your products.
One thing I looked at the aluminium. So what's the issue for?
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was an antiperspirant specifically. It's aluminium salts, and they effectively plug up your sweat glands. And it also inhibits bacteria that feeds on sweat. So that we haven't said BO isn't actually your sweat. It's produced from bacteria that eat your sweat, and obviously their excess will probably just give up a smell which we don't like. But originally, and aluminium, it was done in the 60s and 70s. There's some research done onto it, and it was the fear that aluminium was linked to Alzheimer's and breast cancer. But studies more recently haven't found it, so there's no scientific evidence to prove that aluminium does anything. And one thought of does it damage your kidneys? Because kidneys can also filter out aluminium, but maybe putting too much on it, and your skin is a barrier for that reason. And I guess you always forget, you somehow think that your body's not built to do stuff, like your skin is meant to stop stuff getting in, and one of those things is aluminium. So it doesn't matter how much it is. There's some people, I think it's more like, not anecdotal, but there's a lot of people get breast cancer in a certain area, but it's more like there's not really evidence to suggest it's because of aluminium, and the breast cancer tissue doesn't have any more aluminium than any other part of your body. So the aluminium fully is a case of that's just marketing. It's something from way back, and science doesn't actually say that it's a bad thing. And again, everything's FDA approved. Well, at least in America, that's just, I don't know what we have in England. So it's a case of it's safe to use. That's just marketing.
That's exactly true. It's just because one of the conspiracies that you've already covered now is the aluminium, and some people said, the aluminium is causing problems in your skin and it makes you get cancer. And then people are like, no, you can't absorb it. And they're like, yeah, but you shave your armpits if you're a woman. So the cuts that you have in your arms, that's where the aluminium gets in. And they showed that no, it's actually impossible to absorb enough aluminium through even cuts to cause anything. And just that you touched on the kidney part was because it turned out that people who had kidney issues were given a drug called aluminium hydroxide, and the drug then turned out wasn't being filtered out because the kidneys were bad, even though it was to help control high phosphorus levels, and those patients were started developing dementia. But that's because they literally had aluminium injected into them. So it's
I feel like this is quite an enjoyable section for any of the American listeners who, I know that aluminium, as we say, it's quite a word that is actually very different in American. It's like aluminum, right? In American
I do use aluminum to remember how to spell it though in my head.
On aluminium. Yeah.
Go on.
The reason why the things I looked up for ingredients was, like the wild deodorant I was talking about. What I have, wearwild.com. It's not an advert. It's just quite funny at the moment.
We need to get a sponsor, and this is a great.
I wish. Please listen to this and give us some free stuff. But the things were saying it's no aluminium. It's sulfate and paraben free. And so I looked at the sulfate thing, and apparently I only found sulfur in shampoos, and it's a bit of a myth that they're a carcinogen. But I think it can be a skin irritant depending on your skin type. So some of the stuff which some deodorants try to avoid is stuff like, say, with parabens, their function is against fungus, bacteria and yeast prevention, to stop that. And the main thing is some people can get dermatitis because of it, contact dermatitis. But it's more of a thing of like, they're just, as you're saying, Freddie, like some of the products you'll get, they will cause some people irritants, but you then get sensitive skin stuff. But the one big thing about parabens, which is huge,
I know what this is.
It is an endocrine disruptor, and this is the doozy. It's the big one. So I was reading things saying, yeah, it's an endocrine disruptor which can put a bit more estrogen in your body, but it's in such low amounts it's not really going to make much of an issue, because sometimes too much estrogen can cause breast cancers, especially. But no, the endocrine disruptor thing is having too much of an estrogen, which is they find it in fish. So if you've heard I only saw this from Philip DeFranco thing of like, or somebody making a joke by that proper conspiracy guy, turning the frogs gay. But the reason why the actual thing was that because of endocrine disruptors, effectively it's having artificial estrogen too much in your system. And so they found I think it was near a runoff from a factory which had these pumping out into a river, that the fish there, the male fish, started to actually grow, they were starting to produce egg cells and like embryonic stuff, effectively having too much estrogen in the body, that even for fish they were actually starting to develop more female reproductive organs. And the idea
even for fish, I feel like the same levels of estrogen would have a bigger effect on a fish than a human.
Even a fish
got it. You wouldn't believe it. Even these really tough giant fish.
But it's a big fish and it's living in like estrogen. So obviously this is like a more serious effect. But they still haven't. There's still loads of things about like you can see why our sperm count has like hugely decreased over the years. Like since the 70s, like it's halved or something mad like that. And like what is now considered a good amount used to be considered a poor amount, and like there's lots of different things of how there's so much stuff we use, it's in plastics and stuff like this. It's not conspiracy stuff, it's more just as we go into the new age and we're not noticing what we're putting in our products. Like BPA free plastics, that's the thing you had to have, because we didn't realise actually the plastics we have, they're leaching chemicals into us we don't want to have. So it's just that awareness. So
but did you see, like, I mean, all this is totally true and I saw the same thing, but did you see that most major brands of deodorants and antiperspirants don't contain parabens?
I didn't know. That's just a selling point then, marketing.
Yes, parabens are bad or in certain ways, but you get parabens also from eating, processed foods, and it's in lots of stuff. But we don't use parabens in deodorant and antiperspirant anymore. Oh, so that's why that's the conspiracy part.
A lot of the stuff as well is usually stuff is in such small amounts that it's negligible. So it's a case of it may have it on the ingredients list, but it's not telling you the percentage, which is like absolutely minute. So
and on your skin, like you said, it's on your skin. You're not you're not rubbing it in your eyes or on your tongue.
Well, I can say I really hope I would be there next time some conspiracy theorist questions any of us, all these questions, Freddie. Mate, you shouldn't be using that. So it's bad. Well,
let me tell
you a thing or two about.
Well, Alistair, actually, do you know any conspiracy / reasons why you wouldn't use antiperspirant or deodorant, do you have any ideas of what people might say? The reasons for going no armpit product?
I just feel like it's just the big hippie kind of vibe of that, and the driver is just natural is better, right? And then when you're physically blocking something that's completely natural, would therefore conflict in that way.
Yes.
That would be my
So this is exactly it. This is a friend of mine actually doesn't wear deodorant, and they say that.
Oh, Smelly Pete, is it?
Oh, Smelly Pete. They say. They said, well, Freddie, because I actually asked, I was like, what are your reasons for it so that I can research them? And they said, well, first of all, surely blocking your skin is bad because then your body can't remove toxins, surely that's bad.
I have researched that.
Excellent.
You remove all your toxins from pooping.
Yes.
That's pretty much how you get rid of all toxins in your body. Like sweating gets rid of such a minimal amount of toxins.
Do you know how many toxins sweating gets rid of, actually?
I haven't counted, but I think it's...
I will give you a quote.
Like a tiny amount of percent. Right?
I will give you a quote by the National Geographic. This is interesting because I read about it, but the National Geographic particularly gave a great quote that I wanted to say. It's too bad you can't sweat away toxins any more than you can sweat away actual bullets. It turns out you can't. Sweat does not contain toxins at all.
Yeah, but what you think about it is like all the stuff that you're getting in your, the idea of digesting food and everything else, and then getting rid of that waste, that feels like you're taking something and then doing stuff to it, and then sweat is just like it's a cooling mechanism. It's not you're not getting rid of bad stuff about your body. The fact that it happens to smell is just because of the obviously with bacteria on your skin, it reacts with that, right? Whereas the act of sweating is purely as a cooling mechanism for humans. That's one of the very unique things we have, is why we're such good long distance runners compared to a lot of other animals, that like dogs who can only cool down through panting. If we could only cool down through panting, we'd be like just awful.
Overheated,
just be so hot all the time.
As well, body ratio.
Exactly. That's the thing. Only 1% of your sweat actually comes out of your armpits anyway, and it's like people say, oh, well, it's because it blocks your lymph nodes. Yes, your lymph nodes do remove toxins. Your sweat glands are not connected to your lymph nodes. So this is miscommunication of information.
A good thing as well, I was thinking the same with, it says aluminium free, and that no one knows anything more than that's a metal. Surely I shouldn't be smearing a metal on my body. That's the only reason why it sells. It's not because there's any science behind it, because people know if you put aluminium, then people think, they said that it's going to be aluminium free. Sure,
it's lead free stuff. It's unleaded shampoo.
one thing of it, we did for Ezra our firstborn. We did some hypnobirthing, which isn't like hypnosis. It's really more like mindfulness, or doing like that kind of it's just guiding through the whole process. And one of the biggest things was especially now, you could say from the Victorian period, that we believe for some reason that we can't give birth without medical assistance.
Right,
and it's like, your body is literally built to have kids. It's the one biological thing that we are designed to do. Above anything else is to reproduce. And we used to think that for some reason, oh man, if I don't have a doctor there, it's going to go wrong. And it's like, no, your hip bones, I think I always said that your hip bones flex, stuff like that. And so the same with so much stuff like the toxin thing, we need help removing toxins from our body from what we eat. And it's like, no, your body does that for you. You don't need to be told that your body does it. Your whole homeostasis, your body's in a nice balance. If it goes wrong, you go to the doctor. But you can bet 80% of the time your body's completely fine. And the same with giving birth, or what you eat. Well, no, what you eat different. But we definitely have this thought that we need way more assistance in life than we think we do, especially in regards to
how tough we actually are if push comes to shove. I think we don't even scratch the surface of that these days. But.
Oh, thanks, guys. That was really good. I just want to finish on one point because I believe it's important to try when you can to be neutral and unbiased in things. And we've definitely been hammering about how everyone's nuts and what's wrong with using this stuff. I did find some things to the negative. I don't know if either of you guys did find negative things about deodorant and antiperspirant.
I looked up aerosols and I forgot. I didn't end up looking it up about the whole just putting aerosol into the atmosphere.
I think. Well, in the end, it's actually the manufacture of it that's worse than the actual releasing of it in the end.
That's so true. A lot of things with electric cars and stuff, the actual making of one and how bad that is for the planet is just crazy.
The lifetime of an electric car's CO2 is more than the average of a diesel. car in its entirety.
Really? Mm.
Yeah, so like just making an electric car has more CO2 output than making and running one diesel car. That's it. Well, that may have changed now. Obviously, things like lithium. Quite different. Yeah.
Okay, we'll come to that another time. But thank you. Yeah, before you go on a real tangent. So just as a just to try and remain neutral here, I did find that yes, there are chemicals that are used in deodorants and antiperspirants that are harmful to your skin, but it depends on your skin and genetics and how frequently you use them and if you wash. And it's basically important to read the label and to find out for yourself if you are allergic to something. It is kind of up to you in the end to find out if putting something on you is bad, because you don't go around rubbing stuff that you find on the floor on you. And the other part is, have you guys ever heard the idea that using antiperspirant makes you smell worse?
No,
I have not. Well, I was skeptical. But I looked up.
But it was an article written by your dad.
No, yeah. He would probably have said this. It turns out that it's true. Yes, blocking your pores with antiperspirant, because that's the difference again, right? Just to remind you, antiperspirant blocks pores, deodorant just covers the smell. It is a breeding ground for the more smelly bacteria. It actually kills off in equal parts, the good bacteria and the bad bacteria, or bad bacteria in case of smelling. And with the use of antiperspirants, it's been shown in studies that it does indeed improve the kind of growth of smellier bacteria. And so yes, if you continue to use antiperspirant and then suddenly stop, you will smell worse than if you didn't use the antiperspirant in the first place. So
no way.
That is something to know.
Very cool.
So is there anything else that you guys would like to touch on?
One thing is about marketing. Do you know what I'm saying? You've got to market to, like with the Listerine or like with the smells, you're making somebody take something on as just part of their life and not realising that was advertising in the first place. One thing is the phrase, "you're cooking on gas." That was a marketing campaign by gas companies in America like 40 years ago, because a lot of people use electric hobs over there and they want people to cook on gas. There's an advert, "now you're cooking on gas," and that fully stuck, and that is an advert slogan, "now you're cooking on gas."
Oh.
So, there you go.
Thank you very much. And I guess on that gas shell, gas bomb gas, we will end this week's show. Thank you very much for listening to our sprayed subject I don't know why of deodorants and antiperspirants. It's goodbye from me, goodbye from Alistair.
Bye.
And Jonathan.
Goodbye.
See you next time.